I realize now that Classic is actually more of a casual friendly game, and that might seem like counterintuitive because Classic is this grindy kind of hardcore game. Well, I don't want to call it hardcore because it really isn't. I mean, it's a simple fucking game, right? But in a sense, WoW is more casual because there isn't really a sense of urgency to get to end content because you know that a big part of the game is getting to there or getting to that point. So for me, that's one of the most attractive things. Is kind of this idea that I don't, like I can come in and play every day from 9 to 5 and kind of treat it as a job, but I don't have to. And from what I've heard, because again, I have no problem if someone wants to come in here and correct me on this, but from what I've heard, the last couple of expansions in WoW have been kind of like this daily hamster wheel kind of deal, and that's something that I was just like I told myself that I have no reason to put myself through that. Like, why? Why put myself into a hamster wheel and spend a lot of my time doing this stuff that in the end isn't going to feel meaningful to me anyway? Because this is kind of a personal trait of mine. I'm someone who prefers to do things or to have things that give me a certain feeling rather than looking at what the thing is, in a sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it makes sense to me. But yeah, so the kind of casual nature also really drew me back to Classic. Like this kind of idea that, like, yeah, I mean, you do have to put the time in, but there's no real sense of having to get stuff done. I mean, obviously, some people take this really seriously, and I call them like the min-maxers, and they want to get to this. They want to get to 60 as fast as possible. They want to get geared as fast as possible, which is fine. I mean, I'm not gonna dog on anyone's preference to how they play, but for me, just personally, like that doesn't seem fun. Like rushing through everything doesn't seem fun at all. That's why, I mean, when I look at my play, I'm level 29 now. I'm at 2 days 6 hours. I'm kind of behind the curve. From what I've heard, most people nowadays, if they kind of do this halfway correctly, they'll get to 60 in like 5 days played slash played, which I'm probably not going to achieve because I kind of faff about too much for that. But whatever. So yeah, the casual nature of WoW Classic really drew me to it. Which then brings me to my next point. It's kind of that, for me personally, I feel like a lot of modern video games are just too fast. Everything seems to be like instance based, and again, it's likely because most of the other video games that I've tried or played in recent times have been like FPS shooters or actually, yeah, they've just been FPS shooters. And I always feel like it's extremely instanced in a way. And not that that's bad. I mean, if you just like come home from work and you just want to get something done, okay. No, actually, this might be too heavy. Yeah, let's get out of here. Come on. If you just like come home from work and want to get, like 1 or 2 hours of fun, flashy playtime in, then games like that are fine. But again, this kind of just comes down to the kind of person that I am. I'm someone who prefers like content that I can actually get behind and like find some meaning in. And most of those instance like fast-paced shooters, I guess, don't really do it for me. Again, I'm not trying to knock on those games because they can be quite fun, but that's not really what I'm looking for. Again, last year when the pandemic hit, I sort of escaped into Arma and like joined a Milsim group. It was fun, but like that again took away the casualness of it to me because then it was like I have to show up like 2 or 3 times a week to take part in operations and stuff, and I don't know. That can be fun for a while, but like when it starts conflicting with your daily private life schedule, that gets kind of really annoying. So, where was I? Exactly. Modern games, they feel a little bit too fast, and if not too fast, then at times like, I don't know, almost like forced to me. Like you have to come back every day and do stuff to be like relevant. Or another thing that kind of bothers me about a lot of games is partly because I get into them too late. It's kind of another habit that I seem to have. Don't do it consciously, but it just is like that. By the time I start a game, like there are so many people who've gotten stupidly good at it that I just become disappearingly irrelevant. And particularly with shooters, like it took me a long time to get like halfway decent at Arma, and anyone who's played Arma 3 knows that like that game isn't really that hard. I mean, it is like this. I guess you could call it hardcore military simulator, but it's like it's not impossible to play. And other shooters like Call of Duty Warzone, I don't know, or Fortnite, dude. I tried to play Fortnite one time. I had no fucking idea what was going on, and I also didn't feel the urge to want to learn what was going on. So, yeah. So that's also another thing that kind of drew me to Classic. It's like the game is kind of as fast as I make it. In that sense, like I can do it at my pace and do what I want to do without having to like, you know, adhere to a certain, I mean, to some extent in every game you're gonna have to adhere to some kind of meta or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But at least for the leveling process, like not really the end game content, I can choose how fast I go through this. Again, like the past 2 streams you guys saw me fucking travel from zone to zone without really doing much of anything. Do that, and then at the same time just choose to be like, okay, I'm just gonna go out and, you know, grind some mobs and try to get to 30. That's kind of my goal today, to get to 30. Where was I? Yeah. The kind of self-pacing nature of WoW Classic is really what drew me to it. And I suppose, I mean, I've never gotten to like endgame Classic, but I guess you can kind of also do that in endgame, because like no one's gonna force you to like get geared, and unless you're in a guild that's like helped you level and is kind of betting on you, or like, you know, placing expectations on you to help them do certain things. But if that's not the case, even in endgame you can just kind of, you know, go through it at your pace. And that's what really drew me to it also. Just kind of, I can do things my way to an extent. And no one gives a fuck. That's a very nice feeling.